Hi everyone, this is your girl Nikita, and welcome to the Perfectly Powerful You podcast. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Perfectly Powerful You podcast. I'm your host Nikita, and I trust, hope, and expect that you all are having a super delightful and fun-filled day. I have a very special guest here with me today, Eva Brushey.
It's me. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Eva is one of my very best friends, and we have the best conversations pretty much all day, every day,
All the
every
time.
we're together. And today we're talking about fun and how to live. I feel like you're definitely someone who lives their inner child all the time. And I think as like adults stepping into what it means to like be an adult, or what it means to like take on other responsibilities as adults with independence and autonomy, that sometimes we can get not lost in the flow of whatever everyone else is doing in life, but sometimes it can be hard to say, oh, channel your inner child. Like, what are you doing? How are you taking care of your
What
inner
does that
child?
mean for you?
What does that mean? And I think for me, being someone who is really tuned in with their inner child means like really having fun, but also it's like there's nothing where it's like anything that feels like it's weighing you down. It's literally just going with the flow. It's genuinely feeling the sense of joy. It's having sprinkles on your ice cream just because you're like, I love sprinkles, so
why not add a little color?
And so for today's segment with you, Eva, I would love for us to have some awesome dialogue about fun, especially since you're someone who I know for a fact always does something for their inner child, which I'm very inspired by. So what do you feel is the best that you do for yourself to enhance and or evoke this sense of your inner child that you like to take care of so much? Your house, like little action figures.
I know, I do so much. I constantly am looking for little things, always thrifting, seeing if I can find a little action figure, just little things that maybe I didn't have as a kid, or like things that kind of felt out of reach or inaccessible as a kid. And then as an adult with disposable income, like, why not just do anything you wish and get anything you want for yourself,
Totally. I think that's really where the fun of life comes into as well, where I think sometimes like, well, I think about delayed reward versus instant gratification. And for kids, it's like, I want like the hardest concentration of sugar that I can. Just because I know that I'm going to enjoy it like right now. And then they get like the high of life and they're just like bouncing off the walls. But then there's also something that we learn to have like this delayed reward, that work comes first and then you get to play. But then for kids, something that comes to mind is that like after school, they always make sure they prioritize their friends, that they're always hanging out with someone, they're doing something, they're socializing, they're playing. And even as like wee ones, that like play and stimulation and doing something where they're just having fun is so important. And I think that that's something that when you're interacting with life and people, you naturally bring that sense of like, I'm not going to say chaos because it's not chaos.
It's a scattering though.
It is a scattering, but there's something that's like not really controlled in the way that like you present yourself very well, but there's also this underlying of you don't really take yourself too seriously.
I think that's the part of the fun of it, it's like never take anything too seriously. In a life in pursuit of like fun and happiness, like that's a life well spent, for sure. That's why, cut all my hair off into a mullet, because it was something where I thought it was so funny, and then I fell in love with how it made me feel, and I think it's one of those things where you just kind of have to like do it for the laugh, do it for the gag of it, and then like maybe the consequences come afterward, supposedly,
totally. Do you think about that, like when you are in pursuit of happiness? Do you find that when you're thinking about, oh, like what will people think of me, like what are the consequences, is that something that is at the forefront of your mind, and or is it something that you just let go of in pursuit of just doing something that fills your heart just because it fills your heart?
I think no matter who you are and no matter how much fun you have in life, there's always that part of you, whether it's who you are or whether it's a seed planted by society, that always wants some kind of acceptance or the external validation of
Sure.
like, you're a grown up, you're doing enough, you know, like you're serious enough, you're taken seriously, you're respected. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I don't see why you have to have one without the other. It doesn't have to be a
Mm.
mutually exclusive experience. You can have the fun of life and also, I mean, it is on my mind, you know, like there is a
Sure.
part of me that's like, you know, will people take me seriously? Will I be respected if I am just like this big goofball? But I
Yeah.
think there's also a part of me that the more I show up authentically and show that goofiness and that
Mm.
lightheartedness kind of right from the get-go,
Yeah.
there is a part of other people that respond to it, and it's like an allowance for them to also just show up however they want authentically as well. Like
Mm.
I show up and I'm excited about this new gadget or this new thing that I've just learned, and I'm so excited to tell everybody, and then they've got something to add to that conversation. They're like, oh hey,
Yeah.
you know, I have this too, take a look at this. Or like everybody has that passion within them and something that maybe they're secretly, you know, having fun with on the side. And
Mm.
then when we're adults, like you're kind of, you know, that comes second, put that aside, like make sure, you know, you're put together and like you're showing up in a certain way and have a certain
Mm.
face. But if you have someone in your life that's just goofy and likes to have fun and laugh, I think it's an allowance for you to kind of show up in that way too, like
Oh,
anything in authenticity, you know.
totally.
Absolutely.
I love that as well because I think that something I'd love to touch on is the authenticity part
Hmm.
where I think sometimes people think like how should I act? How will people perceive me? I need to show up like this in order for people to see me like this. But and I know that for myself, I'll say up until now, it was something that I cared a lot so much more.
Hmm.
And it honestly prevented me from having a lot of fun in life because
Sure.
I took myself too seriously.
Hmm.
And so for yourself, because it's something I know that we've had conversations about, how do you not take yourself so seriously? And how do you give yourself permission to show up authentically in whatever that looks like, in whatever context, for to give other people permission to show up in the same way?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is a part of me that specifically allows myself to show up in any way.
Mm.
I think it's something where I've been doing it for so long. It's almost like that there was never that mask that I felt like I needed to wear because that was something that
Mm.
was so much a huge part of who I was and how I show up.
Yeah.
So I think it's less, I give myself more permission to be serious in a sense.
Oh,
So it's a little bit flipped
interesting.
for me where it's like,
Yeah.
of course I want to have those moments where we have these conversations and it's
Yeah.
so like in depth and so intellectual
Mm.
and we have such good conversations.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost an allowance to be that person in
Mm.
situations where I'm like, okay, you can show up and you can be serious because I'm authentically just showing up as a goofball so often.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? So it's like I don't really allow myself that. It's more I show up as an adult, quote unquote,
Oh,
you know?
sure.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's like it's flipped for me, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Because for myself, like I do little things to help bring out my inner child. Like for me, it's painting
Yeah.
or but like not painting to be really serious. As soon as I feel like there's this seriousness to it,
Yeah.
that's when I pull back and I'm like, why
Hmm.
am I doing this in the first place? And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's for
Why stress
fun.
about it?
Yeah, why
It's
stress
supposed to
about
be
it?
for the flow, for your enjoyment. There's so much of
Yeah.
life that I mean is valid to stress about, but not the
Mhm.
things that bring you joy like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Hmm.
totally. And I think for myself, when it comes to you and watching you, because like you have a unicycle,
Yes, I sure do.
you're learning
Hmm.
how to do German, like
Yes,
not do
yeah.
German, but like speak and read and write and
Yeah,
like
it's so
practice.
hard.
Yeah, I would imagine it is a very
Mhm.
difficult
But I
language.
want homework. I want
Mm.
stakes. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
stakes. Like you want higher stakes?
well, I just want something where I can like apply myself to something and like
Mm.
have something that I'm accountable to, you know? Because a
Sure.
lot of my life is like I'm unicycling and I'm learning like how to juggle four balls and I want to
Yeah,
like
I
quit
was
my life
looking
and
at your
join the
balls over there.
circus,
Yeah.
you know? And like I have my action figures and I play Nintendo all the time and like I'm just like a unhinged lunatic sometimes. So to have something where I'm like I'm studying something, I'm applying myself, that actually feels good. It's like it's a
Mm.
certain like like I'm exercising my brain instead of just
Balance.
exactly. It's all about balance.
Yeah, I think that, well, because we were talking about that the other day, the idea that when we're too far one way,
Yeah.
then something's going to happen in order for it to balance itself out. When we're too far the other way, we'll
Yes.
find the balance in between that as well.
Mhm.
And I think that that's okay with whatever it looks like, whenever it looks like that, because we can use our intuition for when we feel like we're not having enough fun.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
we're maybe having a little too much fun and it's time to maybe take things more seriously.
Absolutely, because things
Yeah.
can spitball, and then you're kind of dealing with all the stress at once when you could have maybe like allowed yourself to be a little bit more serious.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
I've kind of come to I've had some good clarity around my inner child healing lately. It's more, I've realized that I'm spoiling my inner child
Mm.
instead of actually doing a lot of healing work, which
Mm.
I don't think have to be two separate things. I think
Yeah.
you can do both and it can
Totally.
be healing. But I've noticed, like, you know, I'll spend a little money on this action figure, or I'll spend some time playing this, or, you know, just doing all these things that feel so good for my inner child. But I don't know if that's a lot of like sitting with the feelings or some of the things that happened as a kid that I could
Sure.
heal from. I'm just kind of throwing toys at it, which I think is fine,
Yeah,
you know, because I
no, I
love
get
toys.
it.
And I think it's so funny because we all spent Christmas together, like
Yeah.
you and a close mutual friend of ours,
Yeah.
Jess.
Yeah.
And something that you guys said to me, you were like, you were so easy to shop for because you love things out loud, which I do. People know what my likes and dislikes are.
Totally
Like
are.
I'm very upfront with that.
Yeah.
You know, wear my heart on my sleeve. And basically you said to me, it was so easy to shop for you because all we had to do was buy you toys.
Yeah,
and I got kinetic
perfect.
sand and I got a yo-yo. And I think it's so fun. And I've been playing with my kinetic sand.
And Corey.
Yes, the little squish. It's like a fidget toy. It's so fun, you know, and I think that I like that that's how people view me. But I also think there are times where I could maybe delve a little bit deeper and say, like, okay, like there are times when things maybe weren't as shiny as I would have liked in a certain way as a child. And I could sit with that and I could actually push through and learn and heal through that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe part of that is having toys, and some of that I could actually maybe take a little bit more seriously and delve into myself. But I don't know. I think I like to have fun and I'll get there. You
Totally.
know?
As like, I mean, everyone's journey is their own. And I know for myself, like I had a really, really wonderful upbringing. And
Same.
of course, like there are some moments when it wasn't as shiny or as well
Absolutely.
polished. And I find for myself that when I start to take things too seriously, even when I'm not like, it's like I'm trying to have fun. It's like I'm saying, go and have fun. Like
Yes.
go color, go do whatever. But then there's that part of me that comes in up until now that was far more dominant that says like, you've got other things to do.
Absolutely.
Like what about like the homework? What about the planning your life? What about the going and working? And what about all these things that I made priority? But like, what about prioritizing fun? Like,
Absolutely.
what about really genuinely when like you're walking on the beach and saying like, I'm just going to kick off my shoes and go like run around on the sand. And there's this like genuine play and joy that feels like it's
not a performance. It feels very, very like genuine.
Yeah. And I think that comes out for everyone in so many different ways. Like when my sister, and she's like just on her pole fitness, and she's like swinging around, and she can get very serious with it. And just like she has like a choreography, she's teaching others, and she's really made it a skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. It's athleticism.
For sure.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
Your sister's shredded.
She is.
Yes.
And then there's also moments when she discovered this was something that was really her passion and what she would love to do, because she just loves swinging around in a pole and getting stronger, and knowing the stronger she gets, the more fun she has because she can like perform different moves. And for me, like it's always been so fun to create and to bake. Like I love just like putting things together. And when I get too serious about it, it's because there's this idea of perfectionism that comes in.
Absolutely.
And it's learning to let that go.
I think you can't really have fun if you're trying to make it perfect. Like you kind of have to show up in messiness when it comes to fun, you know? And I think when you're actually enjoying something fully, when you get into that flow, you know, like you're not, time kind of just is a construct at that
It
point.
just fades
And you're
away.
just like, wow, I've been doing this for 4 hours and it feels like 15 minutes, you know? And if it's maybe not feeling like that, maybe time to kind of like readjust.
Readjust, reevaluate, take a break.
Yes, reevaluate, absolutely.
And I think that's okay as well, because I know they say that when you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I genuinely believe that, because when I'm at the bakery, I'm having the time of my life when I'm setting good boundaries around it. When I feel like it's not a have to, it's a I would love to. Like, I would love to create this cake. Like, yes, I want to decorate this for you. I'm having so much fun, like making different colors of macarons and like creating different flavors and being like, oh, my friends are gonna love this. They're gonna taste it, and they're just gonna have like the best time experiencing what I created. Or when I'm at the beach and I want to just like create a sandcastle because I feel like in the moment it's like this inspired joy.
Totally.
And then when I'm watching you and you're just like juggling balls, and you're just like learning how to do that, and you just keep mastering it. But then even when you drop a ball, that you're just like, it's okay, just keep trying. And I think that's like the essence of fun, is letting go of the perfectionism, letting go of what you think it's supposed to look like, letting go of the seriousness of it, and letting go of the pressure of what again, like what you think it's supposed to look like. And
or
I
feeling
think
silly showing up and people like, you're like, oh, people are going to judge me if I'm like fully like showing up and laughing loudly. And it's like, no, why? You know, if anything, you're going to inspire others to kind of join in with that, I think.
Absolutely. Actually, that's a really great point that you make, that it's
there's a lot of times where I'm in something and I'm like, I'm being too loud, I'm being, you know, like I'm talking too much, I'm because I have these special interests, you know, and I can get really passionate and I can get really in the zone with it, and I'm like, okay, you have to pull back, like you're not, like you're feeling like you're not so normal or you're not in control. And I think I've had to work through a lot of that to just be like, you know what, my friends know who I am. Like the people in my life love me for who I am, because I'm showing up as pretty much the core of myself as I can. There are parts that you always hold back, I think, in anyone.
I think that's acceptable.
I think so,
parts
but
that you don't want to share with everyone.
Exactly. But I think I had to kind of work through a lot of like, you're not too much, you're not talking too much, it's okay to have a special interest. People will let you know if it's you know, like I'm not a mind reader, but people will let me know. And then I just kind of flow with that, because it took some dismantling for myself too, really. You know, we all have to get to that place, for sure.
I'll always come back to that place.
If you had to give let people know like how they can get in touch with their own inner child, or like give it a tip, if like what would you say? What do you think?
Getting in touch with your own inner child,
You know, I think for me it's being curious.
Oh, yeah.
Always having something to kind of be like, I want to try this now, or like always having that special interest come up, or you know, like always delving into, because I have quite a curious mind, and I think that has helped me so much to keep the momentum of reaching within myself to find out like what else, you know, like what's next, what else can I devil into, you know?
Oh, I love that. The what's next, what else? I think the curiosity is so important.
Absolutely.
And it's
in any aspect of life.
Totally. Because I think it adds curiosity, I think places judgment on a shelf. And doesn't really have any projections about expectation.
I love that.
How
cool.
And I think the curiosity is like, I think that's a really great point to touch on for those who really want to channel their inner child and to really have more fun in life. I think for myself, it's what feels like it's lighting me up in any moment, because it could be something different.
Absolutely.
Because I know for us sometimes it's like the sciencey things.
Oh, sure.
And when we're even just having conversations about the universe, for me, like what feels like is really engaging my inner child is just like contemplating life. That seems like, it seems fun to say like, oh, like as a child contemplating life, but totally, it's just like when I feel like I'm having like this playtime with my friend, it could just be like sitting and talking for hours and hours and hours. It could be playing with a spongy little weird teddy bear thing we named Corey. And contemplating life. It could be like digging your hands in the sand just because it feels good. And then it's being okay when it feels really fluid, like, okay, it's like, now I'm done with that, moving on to something else. Because when I'm watching children And when I'm seeing children interact, sometimes I see children just fixated on something and they're having the time of their life, just
Oh
like,
yeah.
I don't know, like picking up dirt and smearing on their face and then wiping it off and like sticking more hands, maybe like building something. And they're like, I'm done. And they don't have any, they just let it go. They're like,
Yeah.
and I'm done with the dirt. And now I'm moving on to like this crane and what is the crane doing? And just like,
Absolutely.
and there's a lot of there feels like there's a lot of ease that they're not really attached to like, how much fun am I having?
Yeah.
Like, is it something I want to do? It's literally, they're not really asking those questions. They're just doing. And I think that's the point where I think that's how we access our inner child, is like, what in this moment, because it could be anything, feels good for me right now? Is it taking off my socks and like putting my feet in water and waiting around and like looking at all the minnows because I, oh look, there's a minnow, and I just like following it? Or is it oh look at the waterfall and like look at the way like I want to splash myself in it? Or is it just like drawing a unicorn, and what would the unicorn look like if it was wearing a vest?
Absolutely.
Because there's just this
Dapper.
ease.
He would look dapper.
Dapper as hell.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Like a little top hat.
Yes. Monocle. Yeah.
Whoa, that's a dapper unicorn.
Maybe a little curly mustache.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, this needs to happen now.
Absolutely. You're the painter.
Well, yeah.
That's it.
I feel like, well, that's the thing about like the fun as well, is like when we're with other people, there's more perspective, but there's more like interaction. And I think it's fun to do that. And I think that's how, when I'm feeling the spark of life, when I'm feeling like so engaged, when I'm feeling like joyful and happy and spirited, that's when I know that my inner child is coming out, because there's no worry, there's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no like what's next, there's no like, am I doing this right? There's no stress, there's no pressure. What there is instead is life.
Yeah.
What there feels like is this feeling of, I'm just really happy to be here. There's no expectation. It's just like, it's fun and joy and play. And I think sometimes up until now I got hung up on what I used to do to have fun.
Okay.
And so like, for example, there was like, well, I used to have so much fun painting and drawing and doing these things, and now when I'm doing it, I'm just not feeling that same pull. And I try to force myself to do it because I'm like, but Nikki, you used to have fun with this.
But you're not that same person you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago,
Exactly.
20 minutes ago.
Totally.
Like, explore something different.
Explore and giving yourself permission to explore something different. Because I think for myself, because I was so attached up until now to this idea of just like, well, I used to have fun painting. I couldn't stop. I was having so much fun. I get so into it. And then coming back to that now as this new version of me, I just don't feel the same pull. And I let that be okay, because there's a part where I do have so much fun painting, but when I try, when there's that force, that effort, that push to try and have fun, I say that in quotes because it's just, it's okay for fun to look different.
Absolutely.
For us to learn to grow different, to know that we can actually, like, something else can feel more fun than what we used to do. And I think it's when you say curiosity, I'll bring that in with like, okay, well, what would I love to do? You could even like look on Pinterest or something, and if something sparks interest, you're just like, oh man, like that sounds like it would be fun to do. Like there's a pull, there's you feel pulled towards it, as opposed to trying to force yourself into it.
Yes.
In any aspect of life. And it doesn't really matter what it looks like, because it's just whatever is calling you. And
it's more of the feeling. It's not so much something that has to be like concrete. It's just like finding what is pulling you right now, you know?
What would be pulling you right now for fun?
Oh man, there's so many things. I have been dancing a lot. I know that's like kind of like a more base level thing. It's not something so niche or specific, but I have found such joy in like an exploration of music. And I work alone. I'm a janitor, and I have been working predominantly by myself.
Yeah.
So just in my moment, in a song, feeling it and just getting down.
Oh, yeah,
you know, absolutely, dude. It's been so much fun. Haven't really been so heavy on the unicycle lately.
Sure.
Been juggling a little bit, but it kind of flows in and out, like we were talking
As
about,
you
you know?
do.
And
Yeah.
like I have my telescope that I love to bust out, but it's so
Yes.
overcast in Ucluelet
Yeah.
so often.
Yeah.
But I'm really up to date on, you know, like, oh, the moon is doing this month, and this is when this meteor shower is going to be. So I'm kind of
Ooh.
adding things into my calendar and seeing, what am I doing that day? Like, is it going to be overcast? Should I go out to a dark spot with no light pollution? Like, that's kind of been really, and that's an ongoing thing for me, is like the love of like looking at the stars and stuff like that. So that's been pulling me a little bit. Just, and like the yo-yo, I've been trying so hard. It's just YouTube videos, and but I'll get there. So it's just like the tenacity to keep going.
What was it, like the walking the dog or
I was trying to
something?
do like the swing set and the walk the dog.
Set?
Yeah, like you have your thing, and then it swings in between your hands. I knew a guy like in 97, and when they like yo-yos were so hot and like they lit up and stuff, and he could do all of that. And
Wow.
as a 6-year-old, I was blown away by it.
Yeah, as a
So I'm like,
26-year-old, I'm blown away
yeah,
by
I'm like
that.
30, 33 this year, and I'm trying to get on that level.
I love that though. 'Cause
Yeah,
I think that there's really no age limit to fun. And I
absolutely
think
not.
that like fun is a state of mind, and being like in your inner child is a state of mind. And
Yes.
there's no, when people are like, I'm too old for that. You're too old for nothing
Like,
unless you limit yourself
homie,
that way.
absolutely not. You just have to kind of roll with it and have fun. I think
Yeah.
the world, everybody in the world is white knuckling things. You know, like we're in late stage capitalism, things are on fire. Like it's a tough time to be a human being. And I'm eternally grateful for the experience of humanness. But at the same time, we would all benefit more from a 5-minute Play-Doh break at work. You know, just play with something quick, or have a little Rubik's Cube. Like, just have something available for when you're feeling stressed. You've been working for 2 hours straight. That's too long. You need to calm down. You need to sit there with some kinetic sand. You need to do something to kind of bring you back into this moment and be like, hey, like, I'm here, and it's all going to be okay.
Oh, actually, I like
Right?
that. The 5-minute Play-Doh break.
Yes.
Not necessarily Play-Doh, but I think that it seems funny to say this, but like schedule in play.
Oh, and I was the
Yeah.
same. Like, I'm a very type A, like kind of jaw clenched person, even though I like to have fun.
Maybe up until now.
Up until now. But I would actually schedule myself downtime many, many years ago, when I was kind of more in my like seriousness, I suppose, or
Sure.
whatever that
Like
means.
hardcore carpentry.
Yes.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yep,
it
yep,
was
yep.
like I would be so in my productive mindset, where I would actually write down, like, sit down for, like, it would be in my calendar to take breaks, or to go and like, you know, watch this show. And now it comes so much more easily for me to just be like, oh, I'm just hanging out and I'm cleaning my house, or I'm just gonna like quickly throw my juggling balls around.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like set my action figures up in my plants, because they're all Star Trek, and it's like they're on an away mission, you know, like just whatever that means for me. And I'm gonna take a second, and I'm gonna do it, because like, life is too short, and we're all stressed. So just have a little bit of fun every single day, you know?
I appreciate that a lot, because I think that maybe up until now, when you had to schedule yourself time for fun because you realized, just as we were talking about earlier, that you were too far one direction.
Yeah.
And you were aware of this intellectually, in like with your intuition as well. You're like, okay, I feel like I'm white knuckling something.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm actually too in my productivity, and I think that something's calling me is more fun.
Yes.
And so then you swapped it, and you allowed, and you actually scheduled in that fun, because that scheduling in was actually important for you. And now, however many years later, it's actually something you do very instinctually.
Yeah.
Because you made it a habit before by scheduling it in. And now it's something that's so much more easy, and was so much more flow, because and this is me just throwing it out there, that probably scheduling it in made the connections in your brain say, take time for fun.
Yeah.
What would be fun right now?
That's it.
And now it's become something that's part of your life, that you didn't start out like this.
Well, it started as an intention to enjoy things more. And then it becomes something where I'm just kind of taking little nibbles and making sure it's chewable, you know, and then it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And then it flows and flows and flows, and you do it so often that it just becomes a part of who you are.
Totally. Yeah, because knowing you now, I would never have thought that fun was not a part of your life.
Sure. But I think I had to be that version of myself where I was stressed and where I was so focused on my value was wrapped up in productivity.
Yeah,
And
sure.
that version of myself had to occur for me to get to a place of, like
Mm,
everything is, we're not here for a long time. And I think a life in pursuit of fun is something where that's so accessible to me and it
mm,
feels so natural to me that it's like that's kind of the road that I'm going down for right now. And it might not be forever. There
mm,
could be, not that I don't have responsibility, but there could be more of that in my future because who knows what's going to happen. But I think this version of me, just like the productivity version of me, is important for the next
mm.
version of me to come, maybe where I find a little bit more balance of the two. So I'm
Yeah.
not, just, oh, I'm just going to say yes and I'm just chill and I'm just going to have fun. And then I feel stressed about things because I've let maybe the fun go too far. As
Sure,
opposed to
sure.
me when I had no fun and I was just productive and I just had a list of things to do. And if I didn't do everything on that list, like that was a day lost. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I need to marry
That's
the
a good
two a little
point.
bit more. And but I'm so grateful for this time because I am having so much fun. And I think that that's
Yeah.
so important for me.
I genuinely feel
Mhm,
that for you.
mhm.
Every time I see you, even when there's moments when it feels like life is maybe not as streamlined, when maybe we have been prioritizing productivity
Yeah.
over living.
Mhm.
And I think that it's okay to prioritize productivity. And
Yeah.
just like how you
You
were
have to.
saying that there was a version of you that you chose to live that was very, we'll use the term white knuckling it,
Yeah.
that was very much in productivity, that was very much into like getting things done. And that version of you is absolutely chef's kiss perfect.
Mhm.
And
What
it
I needed at
sounded
the
like
time.
exactly what you need at the time. And
Mhm.
now that version of you is clarity for who you are choosing to be now, which is someone who has productive things in life, who
Mhm.
has dreams that you're moving towards,
Mhm.
who has like things you're doing every day that says, okay, when I do this, I know it's going to be the benefit of not only my inner child, but also my adult me that's wanting to allow this to happen. So, yes, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to study German. Yes, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to, um, well, practice whatever it is you want to practice every day that
Mhm.
is fueling your, I guess, where you want to be.
Yeah.
And there's
Mhm.
also that part of you who's like, I'm going to arrange my action figures because they're on an away mission.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what like, it's perfect, it's the perfect balance,
it
and it's
is.
so like, I do it and I am here alone in my house, like, just giggling,
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Like, it's like what's better than that?
Mm.
Not much,
When
man.
you're giggling to yourself as well. Mm.
Yes.
I think that's when you know that you're having the most. Oh, I was watching Ace Detective, Ace Ventura,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and then the way that Jim Carrey in this movie has so much fun with himself. Like there was
Mhm.
one part where the two detectives were behind him and he was just in the pool for this missing dolphin and he was like flipping out his glasses and he was talking to it like he was talking to someone else and but he was doing that and he was like and it was so but he was just like laughing and giggling to himself like there were people watching him who were thinking he's freaking nuts
Mhm.
but he was having so much fun in that moment that it just struck a chord in me where I was like whoa he just didn't even care
Yeah.
he had no like I should act this way, I should be serious in this moment because I'm a detective and I'm trying to find and now you're just like, what are we doing right now? And how
Mhm.
are we going to like doing this? He's just creating this scene for himself just because it was fun to do in that moment and he wasn't thinking about it. And so
Mhm.
yes, there's a moment where you're serious. Yes, there are moments when you're having fun and it's learning to like merge the two in a balance where it does look different every day.
And you know what? I could have in years I could be too serious and I'll be too silly again.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things like to be human is to be imperfect. And I'm
Mm,
not trying to be perfect. There
yeah.
is going to be that backslide where you forget the priorities maybe that you've set for yourself, but it always comes full circle,
Totally.
you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
My grandpa comes to mind right now when he was just asking me every day. He's like, "And are you happy?"
Yeah, my dad asked me that all the time. Are you
Yeah.
happy? Are you
Yeah.
happy?
It doesn't really
Mhm.
matter what you're doing, but like, are you happy?
Yes.
And I think that when
What an
you're,
important question.
are
I
you
think it's
happy?
one of the best things because I can just hear his voice on the phone every time we
Yeah.
have a call. Are
Me
you
too.
happy? I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, I am. I really am.
And when you say that with genuinity,
Yeah.
If that's sure.
Sure.
Genuinity.
Genuinity.
That there's something very lighthearted about it, because sometimes even when you start things like a podcast, and when I'm feeling this inspiration to be like, I want to share this with people. I want people to know about this. I would love people to take this into their lives. And then there's moments when I start doing it and it becomes productivity. It becomes a chore. It becomes work. And that's when I know internally, I'm like, oh, I need to set more boundaries. I need to ask myself, am I having fun right now?
Yes.
And then if I need to take a step back, that's okay.
Yeah.
And because what is the point here? Like for me, it's like, if I'm not having fun, because it's the pursuit of happiness, it's just like, if I'm not having fun, am I doing life right? And again, there's no right or wrong to life. But for me, what feels like when I'm having the most fun, I feel like I'm doing life right in whatever
100%.
Life isn't going to be fun all the time.
Yeah,
but
it can't be.
But as much as I can choose it, and as much as I can live it, I would love to. And sometimes you go too far in one direction, and sometimes you go too far in the other direction. And I think it's just when you take that time to slow down and take those breaks, those 5-minute Play-Doh dates with yourself, then I think it's time, like, you can even like give yourself like, am I having fun? Is there something else I could be doing that would allow myself more space to breathe, to take off the pressure of whatever it is I was doing, to allow myself to arrange my action figures, to give myself
get yourself a fidget spinner. You know what I mean? Like, just whatever that is, whatever that looks like for you.
Have a dance party in the kitchen.
Yes, take a walk. Like, it doesn't have to be something where you're acting silly or shameless. It could just be something that's like, this is what works for me. This is what I'm going to do right now in this moment. Yeah. And it's going to look different for everybody, and let it. That's it.
Let yourself.
Let yourself.
That's the takeaway thing for as we are ending this podcast now. Do you have any takeaway messages for people who are wanting to have more fun in life? I feel like whatever is inspiring you in the moment, I feel like that's the highest good.
Keep curious. Always ask why. You know, you've got an internet connection. Google something, make a list. I have a folder in my phone that's just called Neato with a little star emoji, and everything that kind of Neato folder. And every time something like a fact or something kind of blows my mind, I'll write it down. You know, it's just like, keep that spark of like, ooh, what is this? And always asking questions. I think that's a part of what's helped me with my inner child, for sure.
Totally.
Curiosity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because children are like, but why? But why?
Me as hell.
But what about this? And sometimes you're like, okay, now I'm getting annoyed. But
that's what I love about our friendships.
Like, but why?
Yeah, so much is like, I'll be blurry-eyed, just chatting and like in your face about something, and you're always like, so like, why? Tell me more.
Yeah.
Like, you're always feeding that, and you need people like that in your life. I think surrounding yourself with the right kind of people that will never judge you, and to always have a curious mind. I think that's so important.
Ooh,
absolutely. Good takeaway message. And I just want you to know that I find you endlessly thoughtful, curious, intelligent, beautiful, and I love you so much.
I love you.
And I think the podcast is incredible. I think it's helping people, and I'm just so grateful to have you in my life.
I appreciate you. I appreciate this podcast right now.
Absolutely.
I'm also very genuinely so inspired by you all the time with how your curiosity is insatiable. And I think that the conversations that you have with others, not just like with ourselves, I think are so rich with intellect, because I think you have a lot of knowledge up in that beautiful noggin of yours.
Thank you.
But there's also something very playful about it, and also very unattached. And like, when I mean you're talking about just like, you want to be stardust one day floating through the galaxy.
This is my one go, and then I'm not coming back as anything else. I just want to know the secrets of the universe, and I'm ready for whatever's next.
And I think it's beautiful. And I so appreciate you, and I would love to have you on again one day.
I would love to. Let's talk about the universe next time.
The universe.
Let's just get existential. Scream into the void. Ooh, so fun for us.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. I hope that you guys enjoy having your Play-Doh dates and your dance party in the kitchen. And until then, thank you all for joining us today for this very fun-filled day. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you all so much for joining me today, because it is my absolute pleasure to be here with you. For those of you who'd love to take your success one step further, I've included a link down below for a complimentary strategy session with me. Here, you and I will work one-on-one to hone in on your vision for the life you'd love living and develop some steps from how to get from where you are now to where you'd love to be. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on today's content and any inspirational golden nuggets you learned from today's podcast. Be sure to give this video a 5-star review because it helps in creating even more awesome and expansive content. May your day be filled with only love and light, and I look forward to talking with you all very soon.